So to review, blocking out is a skill where you take basic shapes, use those as a guide to draw a more complex shape, and then after tracing around your basic shapes, you erase out those simple shapes and are left with a more complex form. Blocking out is very useful because you're not always going to have a how to draw book that shows you exactly what you want, or a how to draw video from YouTube that shows you exactly how to draw a certain character or item. You might be drawing something from your life or a family photo. You might be drawing something from a picture that you found on Google. And you are going to need to be able to break down that object into more simple shapes. So this skill will be great whenever you're going to draw something, because you can start with the basics, squares, circles, rectangles, lines, and then turn it into a more complicated drawing as you outline and emphasize, erase, and add details. You will see me use it when I'm helping you. You will see artists use it when they're showing you how to draw something. It is a very basic skill, but it is something we will be practicing all year long and will hopefully help you improve in your drawing skills. All right, so we're going to look at how to block out or how to draw this dog. It is not as straightforward as the mannequin because it is an actual picture of a dog. It's not already broken down for us. So as we saw in a lot of the animal how to draw books, a lot of times we can break down animals or bodies into more basic shapes, such as the actual body, the head, or the neck. When I'm drawing animals, I like to kind of place the main parts of the animals first, like they do in this horse: the head, the shoulders, the back of the horse. So we are going to do something similar with the dog. For animals and more complex objects like this, I usually start at the head. So I would draw a circle over the dog's head. Then looking at the body, we could do a rectangle, but that's not going to give us quite the shape of the dog's body. Instead, I'm going to draw a circle at the hips of the dog and a circle kind of at the chest of the dog. You can see the chest is larger than the hips. So this is why I prefer using circles, because a rectangle would just make it all the same. We can use lines to kind of connect those two parts of the body. We can also use maybe more curvy lines for the neck. When I look at the dog's face, we can probably use rectangles for the two parts of the mouth. And then the legs, we can either use like trapezoids or rectangles. We might use multiple shapes for each leg and foot. Instead of just trying to draw that whole leg, I would break it down into even smaller sections. So triangles and rectangles for the legs. Now that I've drawn over the actual image and have visualized or placed my shapes, I'm going to try and draw the dog over here on the other side. So just like I started, I'm going to do a circle for the head. Then I can see the neck kind of connects, and I've got this larger circle for the chest of the dog. Then I've got a smaller circle for the hips of the dog, and we connected those using two kind of slanted lines. For the face, we drew rectangles. So I'm going to go in and draw those rectangles. And then for the legs, paying attention to kind of where they hit at on these circles, I drew multiple rectangles for the legs. So this leg kind of hits where I have the body starting, and then the foot goes out. For the back legs, they're wider than the front legs, so I used trapezoids. And the entire time I'm drawing, I'm looking back and forth, comparing what am I seeing versus what am I drawing. Am I matching them? Am I making similar lines? Because it's really easy when you get started to just kind of draw shapes, but that doesn't mean it's going to look exactly like what you've drawn here. For the tail, I would probably just do some quick lines. So we've blocked out the basic shape of the dog. It kind of looks like a dog. It doesn't look exactly, like this dog, but we've got the basic shapes started. Next, we will look at how to actually create the form of the dog and not just leave it as blocks. Okay, so we want to go from these basic blocks to the shape of the dog. So this is going to take comparing what we've drawn to what we're actually seeing. The first thing I notice is that the neck curves into the back here. So I am going to curve the line of the neck into the back. I can also see that the dog's back is higher than where I have my line drawn. I see it kind of curves down and then curves back up. So I'm going to curve down and then curve back up into the hips. So these basic shapes, I'm not just outlining them, they are a guide for how I am drawing. The next thing I see is that the neck curves down into the leg. So I'm going to curve that line there and kind of start patching in some of these more curved lines I see. For instance, the dog's leg curves. It's not a straight line here. So I'm not just going to outline this rectangle. I'm going to match the curves I see. The rectangles are just there as a guide for us. They're not the exact shapes we're drawing. The dog's body is also more curved than the line I drew, and it curves up into the hips. So I want that to be more curvy. The legs also have some curve to them. They're not straight lines, though this part is pretty straight here. But the back part of the leg, before that, does curve a little bit. And I've kind of drawn the foot in a little bit. This back leg, very similar. I think I might have it at the wrong angle now that I'm looking at it. I think it needs to go out maybe a little bit more. So this is a great example of why we always draw lightly, because even Miss Risenhoover, who has been drawing for most of her life, made a mistake and needed to erase here. So it's okay if you make a mistake. It's okay if it's not perfect the first try. That's why we draw lightly, so that we can fix our mistakes and make our work better. And even looking at this, the dog's leg is not in line here, so I probably need to shorten that up already. Probably falls somewhere closer to there. The dog's tail, I can now make more three-dimensional. So I can add more shape to the tail here. And it does have that dip down at the hips. So for the most part, this is looking much more like the dog. I can start erasing some of these extra lines that I no longer need. Erasing those circles that we started with. Erasing some of these divisions in the legs. I can erase this line because the dog's tail is connected to its body. So let's look at the head now. I've saved this for last because there are many more details on the head and face of the dog. So remember, blocking out is used to try and draw as closely to the object as we can. So when you get to some more complex parts of your drawing, it's going to take a little bit more work. So the first thing I notice is that there's an ear on the dog that I did not draw before. So I probably need to go in and place that ear with a little triangle. I can also see that the dog's face is a little bit more blocky, a little bit more squared off than the circle I drew. So I'm going to go in and kind of outline, or rather use these shapes to draw the face of the dog. I think I might even need to make it a little bit longer. So I'm going to erase, kind of stretch out those shapes a little bit more. I'm also going to erase this circle so that it's out of the way and I can actually see the shape of the dog's head. For the ear, it's not a perfect triangle, it's more curvy. So at this point we have the main shapes of the dog in. We've got the main shape of the ear and of the head. We could go in and add some more details like the nose. We can see the eye is in this picture. We can go in and add some like texture for the fur. But for the most part, this is the shape of the dog. It looks pretty similar to the picture. Again, there's always room to add more details, the claws, the little toes on the foot, but this gives you an idea of how you can take those more simple shapes, whether they're given to you in a picture or whether you make them up yourself, and use them to create a more complex drawing.